button and you should see the red light blinking. Because they got to go mingle. Southwest Florida, welcome back to Lee Pitts Live. We are Johnny on the spot here at the Dr. Kerry Robinson Center for what has been a historic night that continues. We're here documenting the celebration of one Dr. William Glover, the pastor of Mount Hermon Ministries, and the First Lady Cheryl Glover, as they celebrate 20 years in the ministry, and they have done a yeoman's job in our community. So I'm so thrilled to have Lee Pitts Live here to document such a momentous occasion, and so honored to be called upon to serve as one of the MCs tonight, along with the fabulous Tashika Perry. So without further ado, we have the main event right here. So good to get both of you here.
Thank you, Lee. As always, it's good to be on your show, and it's especially pleasing to have you here as part of this 20th anniversary celebration.
I know the last time I saw you at the church during the Martin Luther King Day celebration, and you walked by me, you said, hey, where's Lee Pitts Live? I said, it's here, but I'm glad it's here now, right now. And Cheryl Glover, the First Lady, I know you're behind the scenes quietly doing your thing. I want you to know you guys put together a outstanding program, one of the best I've seen, and I've seen a lot of programs.
Well, thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here as well. Thank you for celebrating with us.
And tell us, you shared on the stage, you shared the letter from President Obama. President Obama wrote a letter complimenting Dr. William Glover on all the work that he's done over the years. How did you keep that letter a secret? You unveiled it and surprised him.
It was actually the hardest thing to keep secret, because the person that did the nomination isn't even from Fort Myers. She was from Tampa, and we had to keep that hidden because we did receive it at the end of October, beginning of November. Because this was such a great celebration, what we knew was this would be an awesome time to go ahead and present you with that award.
Excellent. Now, Pastor Glover, I want to share with you that our television show is an in-studio show. We only take the show out to major events, and more people are asking me to take the show out, and I turn them down. The moment I knew that this was going on, we started gearing up, because this is a major event, and I shared with you how humble you are and how you and I have been brothers from a distance and close up, and I just always respected you for what you've done in the community and how you've carried yourself. What was it like for you to sit up there and see people from all around the world, throughout the United Kingdom and Africa even, talk about how they have been blessed by their experience with you and your ministry?
Well, I mean, more than anything, it was profoundly humbling. And the other thing is, it just gave some perspective, because really for most of it, your head is down, you're hitting the ground, the grind, and you're just really trying to obey the leading and the voice of God. And when you look back and reflect over 20 years, you're now talking thousands of lives. You're talking your major accomplishments. And so just reflecting and having some perspective, I just have a profound sense of appreciation and fulfillment. And, I believe it's John Maxwell said, he who thinks he's leading and has no one following is not leading, but he's taking a walk. And the congregation and the community shared in this celebration tonight, and I'm just profoundly glad that I've not simply been taking a walk.
I agree with you 100%. And behind the scenes, people have been working to put this together. I've been involved quietly, and I know that everybody who was involved in this, they put in the hard work, and it paid off, and it turned out to be magnificent. I could tell that when Pastor Glover was looking at some of those testimonies from afar, I could tell he was shocked at that. I said the First Lady was behind the scene getting those pastors from throughout Africa and the United Kingdom to send their praises from abroad. Talk about that process.
Well, it was pretty hard to do, because when I'm at the church, he's always right across from me. So a lot of times I just had to go ahead and send secret messages to each of those pastors that we wanted to involve. And pulling all those different pastors together, getting their video, and then pulling it all together, keeping it a secret, it was the hardest thing, because I don't keep secrets from him. So it was very difficult, but I knew it was for a greater cause. And to see his face when some of those guys were, telling how great he was, it was a great surprise.
One of the things that he shared too that I thought was just humbling, romantic, and all of those things, and show how committed he is as a family man. Saw that personal side when he talked about the sacrifices that the family has made for him and how you guys have stuck by his side. Of course, that wasn't on television like it could be right now. So I want you to share some of that he shared and how you felt about that.
Well, the sacrifices, they're so many, but we as a family know what his assignment is. We know what the call is. So when he had to go to Africa, or if he had to go to Haiti, or if he went to the UK, we released him with the blessing, because the worst thing we could do as a family to have him going to do ministry and then knowing that there are issues at home that we didn't want to release him. So one of the things that I would do is when he traveled, I would always send a letter to that first lady wherever he went to let them know that I released him with the blessing, and so did the children.
That's beautiful. Pastor Glover, one of the things too is when I shared with the audience is that when I first realized that you were going to be the pastor for Mount Hermon, and I knew the stature of the church and the community, I said, wow, he's pretty young. Both of us were in our 30s at the time. It's 20 years later now, so people can do the math on that. But you took that leadership role, embraced that leadership role, and expounded on what the church had already been doing. Tell us about your thought process 20 years ago when you first took over.
Well, as you note, I was relatively young. This was my first pastoral assignment. And I tell the story all the time that when I arrived at Mount Hermon, that I had a sum total of 6 sermons. So I knew I was good as a preaching pastor for 6 weeks. After those 6 weeks, I didn't know what was going to happen. And God, being true to form, got to the end of those 6 months. Anybody who is called, anybody who's on assignment, who knows how to listen and hear the voice of God, God begins to speak and God begins to lead. And these past 20 years has simply been a journey of me listening for the voice of God and following the lead of God. And during that time, I have grown, the church have grown, we have grown together, and collectively we have a greater sense of what we ought to be to each other, what we ought to be to our community, and what we ought to be to our kingdom of God.
When people look at Mount Hermon Ministries, what's the first thing you want to come to their mind?
Well, beyond our brand, to have a redeeming influence, we want people to know that we're a loving people, that we love people, and that we take seriously our assignment to touch people's lives in an uplifting and a positive way. We want to empower and encourage and stretch people to grow so that all of us might know what it is to fulfill and realize our potential in Christ. And we firmly believe that no matter how small a thing is, if God is in it, it can do great things.
Very well. First Lady, when we look at Mount Hermon Ministries 20 years from now, you may have a gray hair or two by then, he may have a couple of more. But when we look at the ministry 20 years from now, what do you hope that we will see at that time?
Oh my, I would see that we double in number, in our presence in the community, double just even with our congregation, our size, and our new facility. I just see that even 20 years from now, we can't even imagine how powerful that would be, because it would be a move that God would do.
When your son came up and sang, and just the children in general, I was watching you, watching him, watching the children, and I could just see that pride in you and how your children were being a part of this whole celebration. Speak to what was going through your mind.
It was just pride. When we look at, as a PK family, one of the hardest things is to make sure that the children are comfortable with what they're doing. What we find is sometimes the children have great resentment of the call. But what we do is we have such an environment that says, you find you in this, and whatever that is, it's okay, you do your lane. But to see how each one of our children genuinely love the word, love the ministry, love, their relationship with God. And we release them, and to see that, on a Friday night, they could be any place else, but they're here celebrating an anniversary of our set man.
Very good. People, if you missed it, you missed it. It was wonderful. We're going to get a few more questions in, then we'll let the First Lady and the pastor go and greet a lot of more people. Pastor, I interviewed somebody earlier. I've been interviewing people, and they've been saying some things about you and the church and the First Lady. One lady I interviewed, you may recall the story. She said that her husband was in a hospital up in Orlando or Sarasota, one of those areas. She had no idea that you would be coming up there. You drove up there and called her from the hospital lobby, and you were in town to pray for him and to minister to him. And she said that right there let her know that she was in the right church. Are those types of things common in your life?
Well, yeah. Well,
you know the story I'm talking about.
I absolutely know the story, and I very much would hope and like and love for those things to be common. Those extraordinary moments that happen and that present themselves, and I think the key to shepherding people is anytime God provides an opportunity for you to touch people's lives in a profoundly personal way, to share their loss, their grief, their love, to recognize those moments and be there for those individuals, because those are the things that bond shepherd and sheep. All the other stuff is superficial. It's those moments, those life moments, and I just pray that God keeps my eyes open, my spirit sensitive, to never miss those opportunities with people.
We noticed here that you were celebrated, and it's good that people took time out 20 years to celebrate you. I meant to say that when I was doing my thing up there, but all types of people came up, all different denominations, racial backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, from all around the world. When did you, or how did it come about that you start to connect with all of these different dots?
I think that being multicultural in terms of how I move and who I interact with, is something that was cultivated early. And one of the speakers spoke about grace. I think it's a grace that God has given me. I've learned how to be comfortable wherever God has planted me. I've learned to show myself friendly and make friends wherever God has planted me. And over the years, it has led to some wonderful kingdom relationships, some wonderful community partnerships, and it's just a blessing. I love people, and people are people, regardless of what our exteriors are, and so that's what we've always tried to do.
This gentleman's walking on television. Can you hang around for a second? I want to get some comments. Hold on, stay right there. Hang around for a second. I want to get some comments from you. Well, I'm gonna take this over here, and I'm gonna come back with this. I'm gonna take this question to you. I know you want to run. I'm sitting here, I'm watching this, and I'm knowing all the work that Pastor Glover has done. I knew he had done some work, but tonight really gave me the big picture. And I'm saying, how are we, Fort Myers, going to be able to keep the two of you here in Fort Myers? How I know this is me being a real TV talk show host. Now you guys have grown so much. Now 20 years from now, you guys gonna still be here. Everybody's grabbing at you.
You know, we don't know what the Lord has in store, but I can say my husband listens to the voice of God.
All right, that's a good answer. Sound like Michelle Obama. Give me an answer, man. You blowing up, man.
Well, I think Cheryl said something earlier. You always want to be where God has assigned you to be. And that's what we will continue to do, is be where God has assigned us to be.
Okay, that could be anywhere. Okay, now,
We love being here. All right.
final question. I want you to take this opportunity to thank people who've been involved in making this a reality.
Well, my family, Mount Hermon Church, the community at large, all of the ministry partners across the world who've shared in this. Nobody can do any of this by themselves. Thank you all so very much for making this possible. God bless you.
Same here.
Thanks to the community for sure, and our wonderful ministry, Mount Hermon membership. Without the membership, we wouldn't even be here, and showing their compassion and their continual love that they have. So thanks to them.
You heard it, people. This is Lee Pitts Live. We're here at the 20th anniversary celebration of Dr. William Glover, the minister, the pastor of Mount Hermon Ministries. We'll be right back with more people